right, so we have the 2022 BMW 230i. This comes with 250 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, but this has a piggyback on it, putting out 280 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. This has the M Sport package, which comes with bigger wheels, better brakes, limited slip differential in the back, and a few other goodies. Other than that, this is primarily base. We're gonna see how it does. The brakes are a little touchy, but they're pretty easy to get used to. If you keep the brakes around 20%, I'm talking about how far you're pushing your foot in, it behaves pretty well and it's easy to finesse. The gas is very responsive, as are the paddle shifters with this ZF 8-speed, torque converted automatic. The suspension so far has been pretty plush, not crazy floaty, but nice and comfortable for daily driving in New York City. We've been going over some potholes and they've been pretty comfy, honestly. Steering is nice and direct. This is in the sport steering mode. And the pickup is great so far. We're gonna take it over the bridge and see if we can get a little bit of speed and see how it behaves. Just a little touchy on those brakes, but you'll get used to it. Now this doesn't have a brake. Oh, it does have an auto hold feature. Take my foot off and we're staying here. How luxurious. Yeah, okay, calm down. Just gonna let it do its thing in automatic and see how it does. Get a little bit of room over here if we can. Might not be our day, but on the way back we should be able to finesse it. How are we doing in the right lane, Richard? Steering is direct without being darty. It's very compliant. It basically goes exactly where you want it to. You're not flooded with oversteer despite this being a rear-wheel drive vehicle, but if you wanted to let the rear wheels loose, you could. The seats are nice and supportive. I wish that lumbar was optioned, but if you want to, you can option it. Still pretty supportive, and I feel like I have good posture in them. The side supports are also pretty good. They hug you without being uncomfortable. This could be padded, but it's a 230i. I'm not really asking for too much. I love the pattern on this. It's beautiful, and it doesn't reflect in your face, and it doesn't scratch because it's not piano plastic, which is good. Over here we have iDrive 7, which is indeed better than iDrive 8. I have my brake hold feature on, so I don't need to put my feet there, which is nice. The brakes are just your best friend on this car. They got rid of the funky old BMW turn signals that people didn't seem to care for with the return to center. They actually stay clicked, which is a little bit more satisfying. Overall, it's a very premium feeling cabin, and you can tell. It feels like it has good build quality. And as much comfort as you want is there, but it still has a little bit of that performance baked in, despite this not being a performance model. You can feel it wants to have a little bit of fun. So here we go over some uneven pavement. We're going to see how it does. The cabin didn't get too unsettled. It was very coddling almost, nice and comfortable. No complaints there. Go Range Rover. Alright, I'll go. You took too long. Alright, we're going to do a little launch for you here. So we're in Sport Plus. I think that's all we need to do, right? And we have traction off. Here we go. Almost to 60 there. 50 something. And not much distance, so that was wonderful. You get a little bit of sliding while it's holding the gas for you. I don't know if it said that launch control was activated or not. I think we might have just done a classic brake torque. We're on Pirelli P0s. That's what it comes with. We were debating about putting Cup 2s on this, but ultimately I think that it made more sense to keep the ride comfy. And it still grips, so Cup 2s aren't super necessary unless you're tracking, which I don't think is the intention with this vehicle. The size is great, it's easily placeable, it feels spacious in the cabin. You got the light coming in from the sunroof. Even at Sport Plus at slow speeds, it's kind of ginger when you want it to be, and then it also super responsive when you actually kick down and need to get out of a jam fast or need to overtake or merge. But it's not too jerky to use in the city with the stop and go. Love the sound, it doesn't feel too augmented. The exhaust sounds nice without being obnoxious. You're not gonna get any neighbor enemies from this. As mentioned, it's just a 230i, but with the piggyback, it really comes alive a little bit more. And then this is incredibly uneven pavement. He just got it washed for this. I feel terrible. Look how daintily I can do this with 2 fingers. All right, no splashing over here.
Lovely.
This is such a joy. Having this in the city is a-okay for me. And let's get it. Up to speed, no problem. You'll never have an issue with passing power. And again, this comes at like 250, which is probably closer to 260 in actuality, because BMW has a habit of doing that. So we're not far off from where it came. The torque is up a bit, but in terms of passability and horsepower, you can expect something around this. Now at highway speeds, it's still really exciting, but it's also smooth. It's not like droney, you're not hearing like a ton of road noise. It's fairly quiet, but even though we're going at this speed, which I'll demonstrate in a second, you can still get pickup just about anywhere. So here we are at speed, right? And then I'm just gonna like pretend that, well, I don't have to pretend, there's an actual car here, right? Right on it immediately, no issues, no issues. It's right on the power. And it allows you to, wow. It's not twitchy though, but it is direct as hell. It's very nice. I don't feel like I'm getting into too much trouble here. It feels fairly compliant. Hop in here. This is a very responsive steering rack, I will say, but it's electronic steering. Now, in terms of the steering, it's not numb.
Even with your aggressive driving, we're getting 19.1 mpg, it says.
Right there.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's not bad. I do miss, of course, the round tacks. They were iconic, and with the orange, it was super sick, I have to say. Maybe they could add one digitally. It's relatively quiet in this cabin as well, I should say. It's not like the best insulated thing in the world, but it's not super loud. It doesn't feel like some cheap economy car. And the more you drive it, the more you'll get used to the brakes. They're not unmanageable by any sense. They're pretty usable. Nice and fun, but very controllable. I love this backup camera. It is so high resolution. It is actually usable. No BS. Okay. I'll just pull it forward. Pump a little bit of gas. Is that close enough? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so it defects back to comfort.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know what? Let's ride around with it in comfort.
Yeah.
See how it does. It says Pulaski Bridge is a mile on my left. I really like the directional integration here. I know it's not full Apple CarPlay in your gauge cluster, but at least it says like, hey, this is what you need to be prepared for. Or it says, hey, there's going to be uneven pavement in like 800 feet or whatever. And it's a helpful thing to have. So in terms of the cockpit, there's not too much that you can actually change on it. You could put like your presets or like do like your radio and stuff. There's not too much going on here that it lets you configure. But there's also not too much that you need additionally to this. Does it have oil temps and stuff? No. Do you really need to know that in this car? No. But it has your basic tacks. No, they're not circular. You can get used to them really quickly. It has your torque, it has your horsepower, it has your RPMs, it has the speed limit, it has the time, it has your drive mode, it does have the exterior temperature, and you really don't need much more in daily driving. No one's really buying this to track. If you want that, maybe move up to the M240i. But like I said, this is about 300 pounds lighter, and you definitely feel it on the nose because it doesn't have those components in the front that are used to drive the front wheels, because this is exclusively rear-wheel drive. Another thing to mention is that if you do get that M240i, you can't decouple it and go full rear-wheel drive. You're always in this kind of torque vectoring all-wheel drive mode. You need the full M, which can decouple, or you need this, which doesn't need to decouple because it's always rear-wheel drive. It is slidable, as you saw back there. I'll put something up on the screen to show my little mini drift. It was very controllable through. The ergonomics are solid when you're using iDrive 7. Everything's right here where you kind of want it to be. This has the base BMW audio, which isn't that much better or worse than other base audios. You can upgrade to the Harman Kardon in this car, and then there's Bowers and Wilkins in other models, but for this one I believe that the upgrade is the Harman Kardon, which people say is fantastic, but this isn't too bad either. You're buying this car for a little bit of comfort and a little bit of fun, but primarily for daily driving. You have these nice non-sport paddle shifters, which are very fast to react, again, especially for daily driving. Yes, they're plastic, but they have a nice satisfying click to them. And if you hold them, you're back into drive. And if you hold the left, it should put you in your lowest possible gear. Through this ZF torque converted automatic 8-speed, which is kind of the pride and joy of BMW. They could put DCTs in this, but it'd be a little bit jerky at slow speeds, and this is quite sublime, honestly. It's very usable. and your passengers aren't going to get a headache or think that you're a bad driver because it's not twitching all over the place. It's just straightforward and intuitive. This is automatic. This is manual. Very satisfying click from the chicken thigh shifter. And in Sport Plus in manual, it won't auto upshift for you. But in other modes it will. So it's useful when you want it, and when you don't and you want to have an enthusiast experience, it doesn't auto upshift for you, which is kind of hard to find these days in like cars in general. And it's something that I definitely look for. You have hard buttons for things. Thanks to iDrive 7, you have all these programmable buttons. You can put whatever on. You can put radio stations, you can put CarPlay, you can put heated whatever. You know, you can do a lot. And it's really convenient when you want it. Nice satisfying click to that. All your AC controls easily accessible, so you can drive and do it without having a heart attack going through 10 layers of iDrive 8 to get there. A lot of people will knock iDrive 8. It's really fine. It's not that bad, but it's always better to have a dedicated hard button that doesn't change. That's always there, so you can just hit it. But sometimes brakes fade, and this one doesn't seem to. You alright? We'll go back into comfort. Actually, you know what? No, we're gonna go into Eco Pro. We're going to Eco Pro, and I'm going to see if there's an obnoxiously low amount of power. A lot of these cars, they'll either deactivate certain cylinders, that's not this one because this is the 4-cylinder, or they'll just keep your RPMs below 2,000 or 3,000, which is what I believe will happen here. We're going to see if it really makes any difference, because if it doesn't, maybe there's an argument to almost always be an Eco Pro until you see an on-ramp, or until you need to pass a car last second, you know? That's what a lot of people do in the city because we get abysmal gas mileage, but this has some pretty good gas mileage.
So how is it on the Eco Pro?
I don't really know yet. I think I need a few more blocks. I didn't mind that start off though. Is that a 6 Series right behind us?
Oh yes.
6 Series are coming back. I see a lot of people buying used 6 Series, and it's kind of badass. Okay, so
but
brakes feel the
nowadays,
same.
I think BMW 8 Series are like sort of overtaking 6 Series job, right?
Yeah, but 8 Series are like the biggest boats ever. A 7 Series at least you can drive. Alright, so let's see how it does here.
Oh man.
I like it on Eco Pro in this environment. It's much smoother. And what it is doing, factually, is keeping us at a lower RPM. If I were in this car, I would probably keep it in Eco Pro for a majority of my city driving, and then the second a road opens up, I would go all the way to the other end, straight to Sport Plus, and I would never drive in any of the middle ones. I know that you like comfort, but I think that... Eco Pro actually has a lot of the comfort parameters that you like.
What to say about the 2022 BMW 230i? The upgraded M Sport brakes were touchy in the beginning, but by the end of the drive I learned how to finesse them, and they demonstrated good stopping power without really fading. I really didn't mind that it was a 4-banger. Even with the tune, it was down 100 horsepower from the inline 6 and the M240i, but it's also 300 pounds lighter, and that makes for a more agile vehicle. The turn-in felt light and nimble on the nose. The DF 8-speed is refined, and there was very little turbo lag. The gearing is optimized for pleasure without ever needing to see a track to appreciate. In Sport Plus, you can throw it into manual and it won't auto upshift. The power is usable in daily driving without being too much for the road, and there were no issues passing cars and merging onto the highway. The limited slip differential from the M Sport package was a useful aid and enables you to break the rear loose if you really try when you're in Sport Plus. When you want to relax in comfort or eco, this car is civil and achieves acceptable gas mileage in its class. The chassis is an absolute gem. It's really the reason to get this car. The interior feels premium and well built despite being one of the cheapest BMWs. This car is 3,700 pounds, but it feels super light and maneuverable. The suspension is not adaptive, but it's perfectly damp for daily driving. Potholes felt like butter, yet the lateral stiffness is there when you want to have fun. The visibility was solid. If I had to split hairs, the front seating position was a bit too low and the adjustable lumbar wasn't optioned. The side bolstering was good enough for a daily sports car, the seats were comfort-oriented, and the extendable thigh support is a nice touch. The insulation is fine for the price point, but not stellar if you want a muted cabin. The 2022 230i uses iDrive 7, which has presets you can customize with just about anything, and the screen is very responsive. iDrive 7 is notoriously usable and is objectively more intuitive than iDrive 8, but iDrive 8 really isn't the worst. The gauge cluster is fully digital, uses the new BMW gauges, which are not circular tacks, and there's not really much you can play around with. If you want driving data, there's some stuff on the infotainment like a G-meter and a driving analyzer that tells you how efficiently you drive in Eco Pro. It came factory with a set of Pirelli P0 summer tires, which were surprisingly soft and forgiving despite having decent grip. Yes, I was able to spin the tires on both the launch and initiate a tiny power oversteer drift in a turn. This car has launch control, but I got the sequence wrong and naturally brake torqued it. The steering was direct without being darty and was comfy and weighty while delivering more than sufficient feedback. The trunk is surprisingly big, the rear seats fold down, and the load angle is quite easy. The rear seats are super comfortable, I fit quite well behind myself, and you could definitely fit a pet or a short king back there. The rear seats are comfortable, I fit quite well behind myself, and you could definitely fit a pet or a short king back there. There are HVAC controls back there, and the sunroof gives nice light to the cabin. You might consider choosing this fully loaded over the M240i because the 4-cylinder really ain't bad, but if you want to save money and only option the M Sport package, that's a good move too. Overall, I really liked my time in this car and I wish I had more time in it. If you tell yourself you're going to see the track all the time but you never seem to make it happen and whatever car you have just ends up being a daily driver, this is the car for you.
I think we're good. Oh, and also the M lap meter. Quite a interesting. I can start recording.
Let's read our news while we drive.
Ooh.
Oh. Get a little NPR going? Sometime this century.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Spear. This week, the planet is in.
I hear you. We have Alexa features as well. You can tell it to blow up your house while you're driving.
Barbarism, lack thereof.
So this is where I was sitting. I mean, this is more than enough. I mean, if you can get in here and actually like show this is great. I mean, yeah, my head hits and I'm 5'6", so that's a little crazy. So, like, your tall friends are just not going to fit in here. And if I may, we actually have our. We can change the temp back here. We have USB-Cs right here. We can change the direction of airflow as well if you really want your boys to get cooled because you're trying to freeze your sperm. We have more of this material, but it's injection molded plastic, and the visibility is actually great. Like it's not claustrophobic by any means. Like anywhere in this car, it's just not claustrophobic. It does have a sunroof. I'm actually going to put that up so we can take a look. And now it lets even more light into the cabin, even back here, as you can see. It's a really nice place to be. Got our light roomies over here. We can do them both, turn them off. It's easy. Boom. You can get out no problem. I don't have to like. Oh, thank you.
I got a leaf out from my grill.
I just got out with no hands. That's how easy. Well, folks, that's the M230i. I love this thing. I kind of want to get one. Got a little idle here. Sounds pretty good. Just gave myself cancer by inhaling all that. These wheels are on point. The fitment is decent. It's not perfect, but it's decent. It could come out maybe like an inch.
Last year
Some
around
spacers.
this time, they're, you know, marking this thing up like 4 or 5 grand. It's crazy.
And now?
Now you can pick this thing up cheap, like 39 grand
For 2022.
Slightly used.
Is that the BMW LEDs? What a thing.
Beauty.
What a thing.
Beauty.
All right, folks, that's it for me. I'll see you next time on 1010 Cars.